Hello, everybody. I am Kari the Mortician, and it is Monday morning, and we're diving in. So, kind of took a little break over the summer from doing lives and doing quite as many videos. Spending time with the kids, focusing on family a little bit. It's been needed by me, and it's been needed, I think, here. So, been doing that, but we are back. I say we, it's me. I'm back and going to be doing more lives, hopefully one a week. We're going to try for that. So if you have questions you would like me to answer, you may email them over to me. That's the easiest way at Kari@KariTheMortician.com. So let's go with questions. So Aaron asked, let's say a funeral director has religious adherence that precludes or discourages certain funeral practices, such as embalming, cremation, and/or open casket viewing. Would he be allowed to influence his client's decision based on his own religious beliefs? In other words, is it legal and ethical for a funeral director to convince the client not to cremate their loved one or themselves if they're pre-planning? So this isn't so much a legal thing. There's no law that says I can't tell a family I don't think cremation is great because of my Muslim beliefs or something like that, as an example. I think ethically is where this question lands. Ethically, should someone put their own agenda on someone else when they're making decisions? Should a doctor tell someone that they need to pull the plug, not pull the plug because of whatever they believe, not so much medical advice? I think that comes to a huge ethical standpoint that no, you should not do that. Like, it's not my belief that they need to follow. It's not my choices. It's their choices. As a funeral director, my religious beliefs are mine. They carry me through. They allow me to do the work I do. They help me to do the work I do. And I think if I am not comfortable working with a certain person or a certain religion, then I need to make that known to my employer. Or if I'm the one that owns the place, then I just need to find somebody who is. If we're here to serve, we need to be serving unbiasedly and caring for people. We may not believe. It goes back to, I think, to some of the question that somebody has posed many times to me. Some people have that, what if a serial killer dies in jail and would you take care of them? What if Manson died, which he did? Would you have taken care of them? Yes. Their sins are not mine to judge. I don't have to think they're a good person, but they are at that point a body that a family is asking you to take care of. Should you take care of them? I believe yes. Everybody does not agree. When I think it was the Boston bomber died, there were many funeral homes who declined to care for that individual's body. And finally, someone did step in and said, yes, I will help the family. The family did not commit a crime. The deceased did. So I am caring for the family, and part of that is taking care of the body. That's just my personal belief. And yes, I have taken care of inmates and prisoners and people who have done really poopy things. It's not mine to judge. And I think people need help, and I'm in the caretaking business. So that's kind of my opinion. I think it's really super poopy if someone tries to sway someone else's disposition choices based on their own personal belief. I think that's terrible. So I think it does come down to an ethical. Yes, bloodbath. It does sound like a slippery slope to get into. So welcome, everybody. Desiree. I haven't been here in a while for lives, so you guys have not been missing them. They just have not existed. So we're hopefully diving in back this fall with more live videos. You guys have been wanting a little more Josh even and some of his expertise. So he will be back on hitting some lives with me as well. Maybe one this week. Yet still thought about doing a month where I do a video every day somehow, like a 30 days of videos. I don't know. I don't know if that's too many videos. How do I figure it out? I don't know. Oh, have I ever done a funeral for a Satanist since we are on the subject of religion? Not for a Satanist. I have not. I have done atheist, agnostic. Um, I have not done a Wiccan service yet that I know of, that it was kind of declared or known that they were Wiccan. I have done services with no religion at all and not a lot. And that's just been in the most recent years. For many years of my career, every single funeral had a prayer. I call it the Hail Mary prayer, where maybe the person wasn't religious, the family's not super religious, but we're going to say a prayer just in case that's what we need to get them to where they need to go. So I have witnessed and seen a lot of that over the years. But mostly there's prayer for everything. I love watching Muslim services and Buddhist services and Sikh services and different religions, Jewish religions outside of my own, and the care that they take for their loved ones. It's such a hands-on, some of these religions, where we, Christians or not Christian, kind of more today's age, I guess you could say, it's so hands off. Like disposal, they want a disposal service so often. Like, take away the dead, hand me back some cremated remains. We want nothing to do with them. We don't want a service. We're not going to do this. Where they are so hands on, they're bathing their dead. They are hands on moving them and caring for them. And I just think there's something so beautiful about that. So I just love that. I love the tradition of it. Autocorrect is a mother forklift. True that. Oh, I love autocorrect, don't you? All right, next question. This is a huge one. Everybody's wanting me to share information on this. I'll probably do a whole nother video, this big scam that is going on right now. So these stupid mother truckers, let's talk about more forklifters, who are preying again on the families of the deceased. So what is happening, and I've heard from funeral directors in California and especially out there in those areas that this is happening more often with them. So someone dies, let's say Mary Smith dies, and her husband Henry is listed in an obituary as being the family, and they were served by Miller Funeral Home. So this scam person is calling saying, "Hi, this is Kari from Miller Funeral Home, and I just wanted to touch base with you and see if you wanted to take care of your bill that has not been paid yet. And I can take a credit card over the phone if you want to do that at this time." "Oh, I'm so sorry, Kari, I hadn't done that yet. Let me grab my credit card and give you that information." They're getting so many people that are doing this because they're hitting them at a moment where they're not clearly thinking, they're willing to do things. So if you have recently lost somebody, in the immediate time after that loss, do not give out information over the phone. Do not give someone, especially financial information. If they've called you, go to the funeral home itself and pay the bill. Call the funeral home yourself. Say, I'm gonna have to call you back in one moment, and I'll dial the funeral home number. Just double check what information you're giving out. But that's a big scam going on. There's also some more news. Steve Lato, who's an attorney, does videos and things, was discussing a case of embezzlement down in North Carolina at a funeral home. And some people had sent me the link to that video. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. Just talking through how theft of pre-need happens, where people want to put money down ahead for a funeral. The way this happens, you meet with a funeral home, a contract is put together. You cannot just blanketly put money in. There has to be a designated contract that money is going with, and they have to match up. That money goes to a third-party company. You are writing your check to a trust, or you are writing your check to a life insurance company. Don't give money directly to the funeral home when it is a pre-funding. They cannot hold that money for longer than 30 days. It is illegal. So that money has to be put in a trust or a life insurance. That's how you know your money is safe. That's how you know it is always there for you to get to no matter what funeral home you use. The locked in pricing comes along, Joe, though, just with that funeral home and with that contract. So if you do choose to use a different funeral home, your money is still there, the interest is still there, but the guarantee of the pricing that you set it with is not there anymore. So that's kind of how that works. So you can see that maybe a funeral home is taking in money into the funeral home for the pre-funding. They don't get it into the investment place within 30 days. They use that money to pay bills and think, oh, when the time comes, then we'll just take care of it. And then that slippery slope again of taking in money, not putting it where it needs to be, and then that money's not there for when that person dies. I can see how it easily happens, but just don't let it happen that first time to be that naughty funeral director. Oh, more questions, going through questions. Yeah, what questions you guys have? Let me flip back over. Oh, Ryan Torres. Yes, it's been a while. I know life gets busy, and it has been a busy last few months. Got videos to edit. I took a trip to Better Place Forests, which is this new style cemetery, and you purchase the rights to put cremated remains in this forest and stuff. And it was so fascinating to see kind of their business model and how they operate and everything. Loved it. Got to edit that. Got some things about All Funeral, which is a company that offers some different apps for consumers. Fantastic. Going to do another with Memory Anchor about like showing how it works actually in the cemetery. So that's going to be coming soon too. And then the first crematory in America video we'll be posting here shortly as well. Did my video the other day and posted with Stark Memorial and Funeral Home. Did you guys like that? Do you like the visiting funeral homes and doing tours and sharing different funeral homes with you guys? I'm feeling you guys like them. So might try and do one of those a month or something like that just to share. And then I have a new series starting. I am so excited about the series. We're going to start recording this week. And so that will be rolling out shortly. And that is going to be like a 60 episode series. A lot of work that's going to be super fun, especially if you are a fan of 6 Feet Under. So keep an eye for that coming soon. I think we're going to do it as a podcast and as a video, so you can do it on different platforms. Oh, break-ins happen at the home of deceased. Yes. When you see someone has died, especially if they are there's no surviving spouse, they believe that home is then empty and easier to go to, or the family members they know are going to be at a funeral during that specific time and go and they break into the homes of the family members because they know that they're not going to be home. It's crazy. Is the prepared price locked in even if the funeral director retires and sells to someone else? Yes, that is part of selling of the funeral home, is that you sell the pre-needs with the funeral home. It's part of the value of it. And the new owners will honor those old contracts. A letter will go to everyone who has a pre-funding at that funeral home to let them know the place is sold, but that they're in good hands still. So hey guys, thank you guys for joining. It's so fun. No, Jeffrey, I'm going to wait and do that another day. I'm going to do a whole video on that. So yes to seeing the funeral homes. Track the path of a body from the time the funeral home becomes involved. So I did that in a theory essence. I can't actually follow a body. I can't actually have a body on the videos. So it's all this gotta pretend sort of thing. So some of it's hard to do. Oh, Shelly Wells here in Alabama. Okay, you guys are chatting. Let me see if there's another question in here. Yeah, I've just been working on a lot. It's been really fun doing some of this other stuff. We did the urn giveaway over the summer, and that was really fun to do. And teaching my class. I just started third semester of teaching at Fine Mortuary College, and I bring in guest speakers for that. So I'm going to be having them hopefully do some videos with me to share their stories. And that is super fun to be able to do, to share different people with you. So we're going to have some death doulas coming up and just all sorts of things. So Randy asked, are mortuary schools and colleges implementing safety networks or agencies to handle this post-pandemic situation? This is a part of a previous question submitted. I know you can't speak for the worldwide of funeral homes. So here, let me go back to his initial. I was watching a video about a funeral home in New York City who is struggling to accommodate the family's bodies of the deceased. They used a rental truck to store deceased. They were overrun and caring for them was hard. Has there been any safeguards implemented to help prevent this from happening in the future? You know, what we saw during COVID and during some of these peaks of death is something hopefully we will not see again in our lifetime. I don't think that we need to make huge changes within the industry because of one time period. You know, you don't operate for the minority, you operate for the majority. And the majority of the time, we have a pretty steady influx. It may go up, it may go down, but it's not off the charts. The biggest spikes I think we saw were almost post-COVID, the year after, in the lack of healthcare, you know, all these things where people had such bad health conditions from not being able to get in to see doctors, things like that. They were not COVID deaths, essentially. That was some of the bigger death call days that I had ever seen. But, you know, the refrigerator trucks and all that, I think we saw that because that's what the news wanted to promote, because those were some of the biggest epicenters of the death spikes and such. But no, there hasn't been a lot that has changed, I don't think, since. I think we were all reminded and we stress PPE or personal protective equipment more. We take more caution with every deceased, a little more maybe, because we don't know what anybody is carrying or what they have. We are not alerted always right up front, and we're already handling the body before we know if there's certain contagions. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And so we have to treat every deceased as if they may have something that is more contagious. Just spoke to a healthcare provider recently, and they said hepatitis C is on the rise, that they're now doing screening and giving medication if someone does come back that they do have it. They're just doing kind of blanketed screening with permission when people are getting blood work done and stuff, because they are seeing such a rise in it. And they just want to kind of nip it in the bud before it becomes a problem. So there's a lot of different health concerns that are out there. Why aren't your videos in HD anymore? I have not changed at all how I'm shooting my videos. So I'm not sure what has changed. I haven't changed anything about how I'm shooting. I shoot most stuff on my phone, actually. It's better quality than when I was using some professional camera stuff. And I always just use the same style. It's always the HD. So not sure why. Thank you, Heather. You know, what's crazy about the urn giveaway is how many requests I got for it, but then the people that won, that there was a couple that I never got responses to, emailing them and tell them they're winners and everything. So there's a few people that still can get their urns if they respond to those emails. I did a service for a family who wanted to do things as cheaply as possible. I was appalled at the way the family was treated by the cremation company. It was cheap and it showed. So that's the thing. Things are cheap for a reason. It's not looking for something that's maybe less expensive. If you want to go cheap, you're going to get cheap. You're going to get less of everything along the way. Family's going to probably have to go pick up their own death certificates. They're going to maybe have to run paperwork themselves. if they're not paying for service, then they're not going to get service. These are not comparing apples to apples. When people are calling around to everywhere trying to get a price for a cheap cremation, you're not comparing what you're getting at every place. If you just want to get a body cremated and hand it back into your hands, sure, you can go those routes. You're not going to get the hand holding. You're not going to get, them transferring possibly into the urn for you if you purchase an urn somewhere else and bring it in, and all this other stuff that you may want, but you're just not going to get because you're not paying for it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. I can't walk into a doctor's office and ask for X, Y, and Z and expect I'm not going to pay for them. I'm not going to go into a restaurant and ask for X, Y, and Z and expect not to pay for it. Services have a compensation that goes along with them for the care providers, which in this case are funeral directors or any other staff there. So it doesn't make, that to me doesn't make sense when people want to pay the lowest possible price, but they expect that they're going to receive the absolute best of everything. It doesn't balance out that way always. Yeah, Ryan, I don't know. I haven't changed anything about it. Who do you contact to report a crappy funeral home? When they came to remove my godmother from her home, instead of using a gurney, they wrapped her in a sheet. Her head fell out and hit the door. Oh, well, they may not have, I'm guessing they couldn't have got the cot into the home because of how it was structured possibly. And so they had to wrap her to carry her out. And it sounds like they didn't do the best job at that. I would just call the funeral home and let them know what had happened, because they may be using a removal service and it may not be funeral home staff members. So they need to know if that company is not doing as best a job maybe as they can, or maybe they had some new employees. It would help with their training. So I would call them to ask. We also were able to go back up here. When my mom passed, we had no idea where her life insurance was. The funeral home was so kind. They sold us the rental casket and left it empty for the least cost. We were also able to clean and dress mom, lower costs and more intimate. And that's, you can get some things less expensive. And it doesn't mean you're cheap, and it doesn't mean you maybe don't want other services. But if you're expecting something, but you don't want to pay for it, then why do you still expect it? I think there's both sides of it. And there's people who choose simple cremation because that's what they want. It has nothing to do with costs. Absolutely nothing. But it's when people want to get cheap and get the cheapest, but expect more. That's what I don't get. Oh, Shelley. Well, then I would try to talk to them about it first and say, this was really upsetting. Do you think there's maybe something better that could have been done? And if they blow you off, maybe just report that incident to the state. That's a huge jump, but that's really what you have to do. Whether anything comes of it or not, who knows? There's not enough people to inspect and to oversee every little thing that goes wrong, especially with funeral homes. There's very few people within a state that oversee funeral homes, like a lot of industry, but it's worth reporting or talking to them. But it might just be good to talk to the company and explain some things to them. Blaine, use Pinto service. Are there still Pintos around? It's like a Daewoo. A Daewoo. I would have bought a Daewoo just to get to say the word Daewoo, because that's a fun word. Am I satisfied with my job as an embalmer? I think we can always do better at all times. We're our most critical, judges. So I always think I can do better, but yeah. You're always put together. Have you ever left your makeup bag at home and used funeral home makeup? I try to be put together, especially if I'm filming, but I have filmed with no makeup, hair just pulled up, stocking cap on. So I have filmed, and you guys have seen me super raw and put together, I guess you could say. I've never used funeral home makeup. No, I've used hairspray at the funeral home or nail polish remover, but I've never used funeral home makeup. It's different than our makeup. If it's the mortuary makeup, we do have regular Mary Kay and L'Oreal and everything at the funeral homes too. Most funeral homes do, but I've never used that. I bought my plot vault and have 15,000 in funeral insurance. Will this be enough? I don't want my kids to pay. I would think that should be enough, Cynthia. A lot of it's going to depend on, I'm hoping with your funeral insurance, it shouldn't be a even 15,000. It should be a specific amount that was for your specific contract. Your cash advances is what we don't control as a funeral home. So the opening and closing at the cemetery, the vault company, obituaries, clergy, death certificates. If you're wanting a lot of those items, we don't control them. So those might go up depending on, demand, and like the cemetery opening and closing, that raises every year. And so as long as you're keeping up with some of that part of it, the rest is all locked in and there will be no additional charges from the funeral home for the merchandise and for the services. But it depends on how you have that written. Which is easier for you to embalm on, a male body or a female body? I don't think I see much of a difference with that. But is the term life policy yours from an outside, or did you do it through a funeral home to lock in their pricing? That's what you should be doing. I would highly recommend locking in funeral home prices. It's a no-brainer. You're saving in the very long run with everything. So having it through a funeral home so that it's locked in is a great thing to do. Thank you, Blaine. Yeah, going to Parting Stone was super, super fascinating. Just a quick, this always sits next to me. So these are cremated remains. So you can choose to get back cremated remains in loose form or in stone form. And you can get a box of about, 25 stones back from your set of cremated remains. So a lot of funeral homes are starting to offer, you can do the stones or you can do the loose. So I got to visit the facility that did that. I took my dog's cremated remains with me and had him turned into stone while we were there. So it's pretty awesome experience to get to go do that. Did I do or see anything cool in Santa Fe? So I ate at the best restaurant, probably the best meal I've ever had. Couldn't tell you the name of the restaurant now. I'd have to look it up. I want to say it was a dude named like Jason's or something like that. It was just a small little restaurant. The food was phenomenal. But what was awesome, the bartender was super great because I just sat at the bar. I was just by myself and it was busy. And I ended up staying next to a couple who happened to also be from Michigan and were just there visiting. And we just had a great time talking. So experience is not just about the one item, the food. The food was phenomenal, but just the bartender was great, chatting with him and chatting with the people next to me and everything. It was just a great little experience on that. So that was awesome. I went to the National Cemetery, which is just fun to visit. Who knew that Santa Fe was a ski town? Anybody? Because I sure as heck didn't. So it is a huge industry there is skiing. You go up to the mountains because the mountains are right there. They say the drive up into the mountains is just stunning. So I'd love to go back and check that out and go up to the mountains and everything. So it was quite an interesting visit for sure. How do you feel about an open casket funeral compared to a closed casket service? I am 100% for viewing and for the deceased being visible and viewable and there. It's kind of their day. And seeing is believing. I think it's just part of the mental, psychological part of death is seeing the person, kind of connecting all the dots in there. So yeah, Ryan, I'll have to find the name of that restaurant. It was phenomenal. So good. Are there any plans to visit the UK soon? I do not have plans to visit the UK. So in the next 3 weeks, here we go. Ready? Or not next 3 weeks, but the next 3 trips. I'm going to Vegas. in a couple weeks for the National Funeral Directors Convention. So expect a lot of content from that. So we'll be there for a couple days. Josh is going with me, which is fun. He knows the industry inside and out as well and can give good perspectives. I'm going to be shooting as much content as that as possible. So this is thousands of funeral directors from all over the world coming together to learn, get educated. John Hill from my Beer with the Boys and crime videos, he's going to be doing a couple presentations there, and just a lot of things. We walk the showroom floor, which is companies that have all of the newest things to do with death care, bring their products and things to show funeral directors and get people interested. And so that'll be fun to see and share. I'll be going to St. Louis after that. I've got a meet and greet while I'm in St. Louis at Bellefontaine Cemetery. We're doing a walking tour. And I've got a dinner. I'm not hosting the dinner. I'll be attending. It's a death over dinner where you get together, you talk about different death related items and just have conversations. So I'll be at that as well. I think tickets closed on that event because there is a huge event called Last Call in St. Louis. And it is a one-day death festival, if you want to call it that, where people can learn about all sorts of different things death care related. And it's at Bellefontaine Cemetery. And that's in October. I cannot attend the actual event. I already have something going that weekend, a wedding that I'm attending. But I wanted to go down and support and visit St. Louis. I'm going to try and go to the National Cemetery down there too. And then I'm going to New York. New York is going to be a very, very brief visit, and trying to decide if I have time to even fit in any videos and things while I'm there. But I'm going to do some continuing ed presentations for funeral directors in New York. So that's pretty whirlwind for me. It's a lot of traveling when I haven't done a lot of traveling lately. So Vegas, St. Louis, New York. I think I'm going to stay in Brooklyn, which is fun. I've never been to New York at all. So it's all brand new to me. But that's what's coming up on my agenda. Have you encountered a dog man while hiking? No. I like your random questions, Blaine. Blood event? No. We stopped doing open casket at graveside, but the church was okay, or the funeral home open casket. Yeah, most of the cemeteries around us will not allow the casket to be open. During COVID, when you couldn't have funerals at funeral homes, but you could have gravesides, we did do some open caskets at the gravesides in that event because we couldn't do it anywhere else. But there are some cemeteries who won't allow it. Would have you reviewed the film Taking Chance? I have not, but I have watched it. Phenomenal. I love Kevin Bacon anyway, but that just a great movie to show when someone accompanies a service member who has died in active duty back, kind of just goes through the process and shows a lot, and such a good movie. Yeah, I need to watch that again. I have not been to Westview Cemetery in Atlanta before. No. Yeah, taphophile, like, I never knew that it was a thing, but I do find such peace being at cemeteries. It's so pretty. There's so much history. I always think, like, what does everybody down there look like? Kind of thing, because I'm so interested in the science behind decomposition and everything. So I'm always like, I wish I could like peek down and see what's going on under the ground, but we don't get to do that. So, well, thank you guys for your questions. I appreciate it. And yeah, email me questions if you have them for future. Love to know what you would love to know more about. You know, all sorts of companies out there popping up, and Send Simply is another one where they can take your register book and create this beautiful memory book from it. And there's just so many companies out there, so many that are existing. So working on all of the videos I've already done and lining up more things. So If you guys have something you'd like to get a video on and about, email me that as well. But thank you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.